As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather This Morning.
Okay, 7:30 a.m. Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopham. We've been going for a while here on Mississippi Live Weather, and appreciate y'all for kind of sticking with us. We figured it was probably time to reset things here as folks get ready to go out the door. The one question I've gotten asked more and more, and it is the one that needs to be answered, is this. The kids need to go to school this morning. Absolutely, they need to go to school this morning. Will they be coming home early? Probably not. This is not a high-end severe weather day. I just want to make sure that we are crystal clear about that. Could we have a brief tornado? Not an impossibility, but again, not a likelihood necessarily in this setup. We're at the morning round here at this point that is already past its peak and likely to diminish from here. We expect, again, those temperatures, they're going to work their way over the course of the next few hours here into the upper 60s, low 70s. Not a big increase from where we're at now. Somewhat of a lull as far as overall storms are concerned about midday, and then more storms possible later on tonight, and a few of those could be strong to severe. Address the attire for a second here. Again, while I'm wearing the suspenders, this is a temperature thing. This is not a severity thing. We do expect that we are going to, for the most part, be below severe limits, but appreciate y'all for watching us here, Winston County and all across the area. You see Marquez, a lot of folks there also on YouTube and Facebook in with us this morning. Mid 60s out there, lots of showers and thunderstorms that we are tracking. Let's get the Mississippi Live weather radar, and again, Mama Justice Doppler radar here this moment. Where we have the strongest storms, we continue to watch those exit into Alabama, southern Lamar County, far eastern Lowndes County here, northern Pickens County. Again, this is not strong. Let's be clear. Looking at the wind here, is there broad rotation? Yes. Now, if this were 5 hours from now, peak heating of the day, we had more fuel, I'd be tons more concerned with this. But this time of day, I don't think the atmosphere is structured well to get this beyond maybe a couple sporadic wind gusts. Hopefully we have no damaging wind gusts out of this, but the concern always is that could be a possibility. Let's get a storm track on these storms. Again, the speed on these about 40 to 45 miles per hour or so there. And so if we kind of continue that speed, you can see there again, we're looking at the Groom Grove area pretty much now. Fernbank at 736 there, Kingville at 740, Millport 741, as that works toward Kennedy about 750 or so. Again, working its way toward the east of the eastern portion here of the Mississippi Live weather forecast area. Let's go across the state of Mississippi here for a moment, give you kind of the overall story of how things are going at this instant. And I'll switch radar sites down there toward our central Mississippi radar site out of Jackson for a moment. Overall thing we're seeing here, again, some reports of wind damage down in the south part of the state. We did have, with that box there, a brief tornado warning with a storm that briefly produced a confirmed tornado in Leake County. Okay, so how can I, as the weather guy, stand here and say no tornadoes when there's a tornado? That's not what I said. I said they're unlikely, and we're talking specifically about the coverage area here that we cover on Mississippi Live Weather. And again, that kind of cuts off here, Macon, locations here toward Kosciuszko, back out in the Delta, northward is our primary coverage area. But as we talked about a lot, there's a difference in class. And we drew this line on radar for days as we were talking about this. Most of the time it was a purple line. I drew a line something like here, and I said there will be a cutoff where storms north will be less impressive than storms south. That's what we've had happen so far, and that's what we expect could be the case throughout the day, because one of the factors we have going on here is obviously we have the heavy rainfall, and that's something I don't want to gloss over because it has been pretty significant from time to time on some of the rainfall totals, but also the fact that, you know, there's another chance for storms and active weather later today. So kind of looking at the radar as it sits at this instant here, what we call the 6-hour accumulated precipitation there, and I'll kind of bring it back over here to our North Mississippi radar for a moment. This is one of the reasons we do have flood advisories that have been prompted for some locations up here farther north of that flood advisory. Looks like National Weather Service letting that go at this most recent update here the last couple minutes, but 2 or so inches over the last 6 hours for some locations there estimated. So nothing over the top, but we do sometimes get some street flooding in that scenario. I think that's the reason why the Weather Service has gone ahead and done that. So looking at our surface map here, again, temperatures mid-60s, and we expect those to go in the lower 70s as we progress throughout the day. Here's a look at kind of the bigger picture, which includes, again, the storms that we have over top of us now, but also a threat back to the west. In particular, we're looking at this system back out here toward Kansas and West Texas. Same system, yeah, that brought some of the precipitation out there to the desert last night. Again, our congratulations to the Ole Miss Rebels on an amazing season. Unfortunately, losing last night to Miami and not going to the national championship game, a bitter pill to swallow. But from a Kansas fan who would just take a winning season at this point here, I know that's not enough for y'all, but congratulations on where you have found things this year. And just know that years like this are special, and you'll talk about them with your kids for a long time. Hopefully next year's a better year. We'll see, but this one's a pretty good one, so nothing to be sad about as far as that's concerned. With that in mind, that storm system, the reason I went down that tangent, is moving toward us, and once it gets here into Texas later today, things get more interesting for us. So here's a look at Futurecast. Again, this is the area where storms. The question, if we're talking about North Mississippi, we have storms over here now. The reason I'm not zoomed in on North Mississippi is whether or not we have more significant storms honestly comes back to what's more back out here into Louisiana. This is later today's rounds with an S there. But you can see how this really fills in as we go toward noontime. What we have happening here is everywhere kind of south of this front here is what we would call the warm sector. And so we kind of have this warm and moist air coming out of the Gulf of Mexico, and it's just kind of a free-for-all on how far north some of that moisture ends up moving into our area until you hit this front, and that front really stops that progression. So as you'll note here going through the day, they'll continue to kind of have thunderstorms as that moisture kind of coming up and colliding with this front, and as the front wobbles south, that primary threat shifts south as well. But if it just stayed there, that'd be one thing. Notice I have kind of the arrows showing how far north it is, kind of at that main point there. But now as we progress here into the latter part of today and we go into this evening, as you can see, that front starts lifting back northward. So that's why we can't completely close the door as far as storms and severe weather is concerned with this setup over the course of today. So let's see if this will end up populating there, and it will, but it's going to be back behind our precipitation. You can kind of see there the area with the Storm Prediction Center, the yellow area. We'll show this in more detail here in a minute, kind of outlining our severe weather risk, but certainly it has been shoved southward a little bit because of the positioning of that frontal boundary. So as you can see, hour by hour, we're progressing through the 60s over the course of this morning, low 70s by noontime. Rain coverage kind of diminishes somewhat as we progress through the middle part of the day into the early afternoon, and it picks back up this evening, also in the first part of early tomorrow morning. Coming up in 60 seconds, we'll be looking at Futurecast. And one of the things I'm going to look at that's a little different than what we've had, I'm going to pull up that version where we can look at fuel at the same time with that. That's one of the things I think will be important, critical on how whether or not these storms can really have enough to work off of to produce severe weather. And a reminder that you also can join the conversation here. We have a very robust chat going on Facebook, on YouTube right now. Looks like some hottie toddies going on in there. A lot of thanks. 1.737 inches of rainfall Barbara has earlier. All that information, good stuff that we use. We have folks here at Mississippi Live Weather going through that as well. Your storm reports there. More coming up in 60 seconds as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center after this.
Out with the old and in with the new. It's time to save big at Room to Room's New Year's sale. Store-wide market.
Oh man, hold on. I messed that up. I was trying to change something behind the scenes. Try it again.
Out with the old and in with the new. It's time to save big at Room to Room's New Year's sale. Store-wide markdowns 50 to 70% off. No tax. 48-month special financing. It's a new year at Room to Room Furniture in Tupelo. There's no place like home.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
Well, thank you once again for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon, and we are continuing to track some showers and thunderstorms out there at this time. Appreciate all the folks watching us on Facebook, YouTube, and in the Mississippi Live Weather app. If you don't have that app, free and available for those devices. But before we go any further, on nights like what we just emerged from and what we have going forward, what we do here with Mama Justice Doppler Radar and all the technology is great, but the thing that you need more than anything else is to make sure that you have a way to find out if you're in danger, and the number one way to do that is with Weather Call. I point this out because as much as it's you saw me, I'm the guy, I hit a wrong button, we had to restart the break so I get some stuff figured out behind the scenes here. You know, it involves me not at all except for recording my voice and then the system sending it out, and that's Weather Call. It'll call you and break through with no questions asked, no bumbles from Matt or anybody else. If you're in danger, it will call you. And phone calls have value, in my opinion, because of that. You can sign up for more information with Mississippi Live Weather Call using that QR code. If you scan that below me, or in the app there's a link, or you just go to msliveweather.com, and at that location there you can get Mississippi Live Weather Call, and it will tell you everything you need when severe weather happens. If you're in the danger zone, it calls you, and if you're not, it doesn't. And so as we kind of reorient things here just for a second, and then we kind of come back here to Mississippi Live Weather Radar for a moment, you'll note that we continue to show, again, some thunderstorms out there at this time. A lot of folks asking about that at this point in time. Chris Stevens up there. Kansas 2065 National Championship. We'll see about that. Anyway, strongest thunderstorms in southern Lamar County, northern Pickens County at this point. That's easily our strongest thunderstorm in the entire region. And again, this is below severe limits as we look at this here. You can see that ultimately when I go to the wind mode, again, some moderate wind. And that one up north near Haitogee is a little bit more impressive as well, on especially the storm relative wind, which is what those two kind of show there. So I show some outbound winds. If we bring it here, the latest scan, we have some of those reds there, 20, 30 miles per hour. So again, not terribly impressive. I mean, the winds into these storms are actually a little bit stronger than that. So going back over here to the rainfall mode, again, as we track that batch eastward, speed on these storms has been around 40 miles per hour or so. So continuing that toward around 40, 43 miles per hour. And you can see Millport, of course, over top of you as of 6:46, and that's basically now. We're looking at Mount Vernon there at about 750, Kennedy 753, Jerusalem, Fayette there at around 8 o'clock, and obviously out of the area after that as we progress into the remainder of the day. But behind this here, none of this is something that I'm overly concerned with. This is all just rainfall. We previously did, and I'll put on kind of an hour and a half sort of loop here. Well, maybe our loop might still have it. Yeah, we did briefly have a tornado touchdown for locations back there into Leake County, near the Leake and Madison County line. Just very brief, only indicated on radar for about a scan, but certainly something that we'll have to watch there as well. As we kind of change the radar site here to another one, a different one here farther south. We're going to go to our Jackson radar site. And you can see that these storms, I mean, there's not even a lot of red showing up on most of those. You have to go down to South Mississippi to see some more of that. We briefly did have a tornado warning issued down here. A couple of those. Those have been since allowed to expire as the storms have weakened somewhat. I did get one report of some wind damage there. And a lot of those reports tend to come after the fact. If you do have reports severe weather and damage and things like that you'd like to pass along to us, please do that. The Mississippi Live Weather app has a way in which you can submit your photographs. We'll try to look at some of those coming up here in a couple of minutes as well, to kind of see where some of those reports have come in if we can. A lot easier when I have Gabe here. Gabe is working this evening, and the reason I'm in this morning, by the way, is not because things are super bad here on Mama Justice Doppler Radar. Instead, it's because Maggie's off. If Maggie wasn't off, she'd be covering this. It'd be a normal sort of day, and you wouldn't have suspenders. So the threat is not super high today. Let's be crystal clear about that. And so I said this before, and I think we need to definitely say it again here. Highly recommend, obviously, sending the kids to school. Bus stop forecast there. A lot of them probably already had to be at the bus stop, but their school forecast for today has a 63, obviously now low 60s at this instant, low 70s by the time the dust drops them back off, and obviously very rainy for your morning commute there. And appreciate IMPC for sponsoring our forecast there for the bus stop forecast. This is kind of one of the stories here. We're going to show it, and we'll go back and kind of re-show it. The fuel remains very limited up here in the northern part of the state, and that's a good sign. So we kind of go back in here and kind of walk through this again. This is one of the big stories on whether storms can form and be surface-based, and surface-based storms are the ones that try to produce tornadoes. And so I just don't see a whole lot out there that's terribly impressive in that regard on this for our area. In saying that, though, the amount of fuel is a little farther north than what it looked like last night. So there has been a trend toward a little more fuel in our area. And that's one of the things that keeps that at least limited severe weather risk in place. To that point, I need to go back. We need to show the severe weather risk area. That's something I have not done very well in this particular version of this broadcast. So Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, the ones that put these risks out. As you can see, the level 2 risk extending through around Aberdeen, out toward around Calhoun County, Grenada County. But maybe the more important thing to note is the fact the northern portion of the state has been eliminated up here. Corinth, back toward New Albany, back toward Clarksdale. I just don't think we're going to get moisture that far north. As we talked about, positioning on that front is kind of the key as to where all of that ends up landing. That comes back to the tornado risk, and I think just as importantly here, as we show you the significant tornado risk, it's the lack of anything on this graphic. That's a dense fog advisory. That's not what this is. So I'll stand over top of that here. But this indicates, again, no significant, no strong tornado risk out of this. We're talking about winds greater than 111 miles per hour. That's where you're causing real damage. No risk for that. As you can see, there is a wind risk, but no significant risk when we're talking about winds in excess of 75 miles per hour. So again, the severe risk is there, but it has been trimmed farther south because of the positioning of that front that we were talking about. So let's look here at Futurecast and kind of time some things out. And again, I think the positioning here is a little slow. So this is probably too slow for the first few hours here on this model that we're looking at here. So while it shows at Columbus out here, this is pretty much right now. So you can see on there about an hour and a half behind. So keep that in mind the next few hours here. This is already mainly out of here. And models tend to do that. These high resolution models tend to be a little slow when you have these systems that move through when it's trying to predict what's happening right now. So that's an adjustment we have to make. But where does this land? Before we're done with this broadcast, in fact, we're going to do it right now. Let's look at that warm front. Let's come back over here to our analysis mode. You can kind of see, again, the positioning of this comes back to where that warm front is. So let's look at that. We're going to pull up two things in particular to do that. Let's look at dew points, that measure of moisture based on the same scale as the temperature. Bring it back to current time here. And you do see just that little blip there where dew points are a little bit higher down there closer to Kosciuszko location south there. We talked about these little pockets of moisture. And that's an example of one of those. Where did we have that brief tornado touchdown? I'll put the loop back on here. This will kind of show you. And this kind of is one of those highlights, kind of explains things when you think about it. Right there near where you see that little localized enhancement. So that's where if you just have a localized area, you have just a little bit more fuel and a little bit more heating, that's when it's possible to get those tornadoes. Where do you also see that? Watch that. Watch right there. See that purple? So those are the spots there where we had those tornadoes, where we had that extra little bit of moisture. And that goes alongside, again, the heating, which we can showcase here by looking at temperatures and the warmth of those, or relative warmth. And so I would still place our warm front pretty close to, again, where it was showing it there. Plenty of cold air behind this once that eventually moves into the area. Okay, let's pick things back up on Futurecast. It's going to kind of reset me on a wider shot here. So again, positioning a little slow on this. Does have the storm south, but we watch this area back out here into West Mississippi and into Louisiana for kind of the next wave to move in. Our warm front here kind of wobbling around. You'll see it wobble back south. That shows us a little bit as we progress into this afternoon. I think it might be a little aggressive on that. But then south of that is where our storms during the afternoon could be the strongest. And at that time frame there, we're looking down here closer to, say, Starkville and Louisville and Macon and Pickens and back toward Carthage, Canton. Hey, notice some of those locations where we had that extra little bit of moisture? That's some of the spots there where that's most likely as well to possibly see something stronger. And this is where that at least limited tornado threat comes in. And so then thunderstorms, again, try to stay hugged near that boundary, gradually work their way east. A lot of times we'd say we're done, right? But this front is going to try to wobble back northward. And as it does, our storm chances could once again as well, but still kind of heading south as of 6 to 7 p.m. for tonight. So high temperatures for today, somewhere in the neighborhood, the lower, maybe mid 70s. South of that front, a little bit warmer than north. Record for the day is 77. We're not dealing with a record high temperature. Okay, so here's a look at Futurecast then as we go into this evening. Let's check that. Looks like we'll need to update that for some new data. Give me a moment to populate this here. So here's the data from last night. So let's force this into 6Z. Well, hold on. We're at 750. Let's see if we have 12Z data. We might have... Come on, baby. No. Doesn't have the newest model run's not in yet. It'll be in soon. But it's not in yet, unfortunately. So we're going to have to go back to this one here. And that should work good enough. Okay, so let's walk through this. So ignoring all this stuff going on at the bottom here, where I can usually use that to track. Let's get rid of that. So this front, right? See these storms back out here into Louisiana? This is kind of the big question mark on tonight and how this plays out. So as this kind of lifts in, these thunderstorms are going to hug really close to this front, and some could be strong to severe. I'm going to tell you now, this is going to keep lifting in. I'm going to delete it off so you can see that. So these are the storms, and then if we kind of do this, then we can actually kind of look at the model ourselves and see how close that front is. So yeah, I would have our warm front somewhere around here, right? And so as we get closer to midnight, a few of these storms pretty strong to severe, and there's a difference, as you can see north-south here, between individual thunderstorms and more of this blob of rainfall. So these individual thunderstorms are probably the most likely ones to try to produce severe weather. And yes, I do think there will be a limited tornado threat that could occur with those, but more likely probably some damaging winds. But almost all of this up here, we'll have some people saying, well, can I go to sleep? This is almost all go to sleep stuff up here. This one near Kosciuszko, and again, things could shift farther north. They've done that over the last 24 hours, so it wouldn't be shocking for them to shift farther north again. And we talked about that all week long, that we were going to see some shifting back and forth on our projections here. Now that we're the day of, notice how quickly that storm will go back here. This 130, this 2. Same storm there depicted, but you can see it falling apart because it's running out of fuel farther north. Still enough there that maybe Yazoo City will have to watch it, but you can see by 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning, the main severe weather threat is all gone as those storms are largely dying out. So low temperatures for tonight. This is where you see a little bit of that contrast there from 50s to upper 50s, a little cooler than they were for this morning for sure. And then as we kind of look at tomorrow, we'll kind of widen things out as that heads toward tomorrow there. It looks like it didn't update with that model either. Man, it is unhappy this morning. That's fine. We'll force this to... I don't always have this particular model run to work off of because typically we're a little earlier when we're on. There we go. And there we go. Okay. So you can see progressing through tomorrow, again, just the rainfall initially, and all the active and severe weather is all to the east. So Not something of significant concern in that regard as far as tomorrow is concerned. By tomorrow afternoon, expecting those temperatures to be in the lower to middle 70s. Low to middle 60s for highs. Yeah, we do have some 50s back to the north and west. And then again, this is our triple threat model, kind of analyzing everything all together. On the latest run of this, I think pretty crystal clear. The rotation more limited up here than it is south, than it is west. That's why the tornado threats are greater in those locations. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast. And again, we are 71 the high today, 63 for Saturday, 45 by Sunday. So much cooler as we go into Sunday and Monday. And yeah, low temperatures down there below the freezing point in the Monday and Tuesday of next week as we continue to stay obviously well below our normal this time of year. One of the things we do on Mississippi Live Weather, I'll be honest, I don't spend a ton of time on the 7-day forecast as we kind of bring in your discussion here behind the scenes, because we're going to talk about that in a second. Part of the reason for that is it's always available, easily available in the app. And by the way, if you're one of those people watching that said, why couldn't you get to the forecast sooner? It's because we have this app. Because while we're talking right now, right here, if I open up the app, which is what I'm going to do for a moment, right? There's the Mississippi Live Weather app. I'll take it to the home screen because I had it looking at something else, right? You can see me talking on the app right there at the top. So you can get our live discussion right there, and it's coding out with the rainfall down below. But if you scroll down just a little bit in there and you click video forecast, that will pop up a much shorter video forecast that you can watch anytime. It's the on-demand nature. So a lot of times in this scenario, we use the live channel. I'll just go and silence me. But we use the live channel for this long-form discussion as opposed to the quicker sort of hits. So if you're looking for quicker updates, that's the way in which you get the quick updates from us. Hope that makes sense on that. So we're going to go back to analysis mode here. And as you can see with all your comments there on the screen, let's go ahead and kind of work through some of those if we can. And so good morning to a lot of folks, a lot of good mornings out there from folks watching around the area, folks mentioning that they're watching and talking to one another. We appreciate that. And appreciate all of you guys for your support. You can see that tornado touchdown now kind of logged here as that storm reports come out. TDS, meaning tornado debris signature near Matlock Drive and Highway 43. That's what prompted that tornado warning an hour or so ago. Let's go back here again to the radar, the regular radar mode on Mississippi Live Weather Radar for the latest update there. We'll kind of look at that as that kind of came through there, give you an idea that this was unlikely to be a strong tornado as it moved through those locations. So I'm going to make this a 2-hour loop. Well, I'll say 3 hours on that, but 2 hours is essentially the important part on that. But as that moved toward the toward those areas, when it was back out, and I'm going to have to go down, I think, to the Jackson radar. Just give me a second. Precipitation. We were watching this for a while, watching the shear product, something the rotation product that you can see here on Mississippi Live Weather. We were watching as it moved through kind of the Canton area, and then obviously prompting that tornado warning. Now here's the thing, and this is why weather call is so important, because seconds matter. What you see is that they saw the tornado debris signature on radar and said, we got to pull on a tornado warning, and then did that immediately to confirm tornado warning. So when we talk about weather call, that's why seconds absolutely matter. And if you're going, it's not that big a deal, phone goes off with like 6 different alerts and phone calls, you know, something just happened. And now's the time to get to your tornado safe place. So we did have that brief tornado touchdown with this there. This just south of where we cover things primarily here on Mississippi Live Weather. It was very short-lived, and that storm fell apart almost instantly thereafter. And largely it's the part of that storm is south of Louisville is part of it now. And you can see that's not even storm. It's barely rainfall at this moment. So we're past the severe weather potential from that particular thunderstorm, and hopefully that's a trend that does continue here as we kind of look at the remainder of the area. Again, some moderate rainfall there, Fayette County, but things are on the downswing. I appreciate the folks watching us in Noxapater there. Can I zoom into Hattiesburg Petal? We just got a warning. Okay, well, let's look down there south. Yeah, they do have a warning down there closer to Petal and Laurel. And so, yeah, we will talk about that here for a second. So give me a moment to kind of pop up that. So new tornado warning kind of issued down there for those locations, in effect for Jones County as well as Covington County. that in effect, as you can see, till 8:30 a.m. This is Doppler radar indicated. Checking the wind mode there. There's still some broad rotation with this, but I think there's enough there. That's part of the reason for that. Again, latest update, current time, you know, that warning came out just a little bit ago. That's about 10 minutes removed from that there. Just looking at what they call the bookend vortice related to that. And that's something, I'll go ahead and stop my wake up alarm, my typical wake up alarm there, and come back to the precipitation mode here. You can kind of see, again, you have that sort of curved area right there. I'm going to change my behind the scenes so it's a little faster when I pull it to my in-house studio camera here. So just like a spot right there, you see it kind of curl up a little bit. That's similar to what you saw up there in Leake County earlier on, and that's the reason why they have gone with tornado warning here. Is they saw, hey, it's capable of going real quickly, and so that's what it is now. So let's get a storm track on this. I'm gonna double check the forward motion on this storm here for a moment. So give me a moment here to kind of pop that up. Going about 45 miles per hour on that. So that's what we've been tracking things all morning. So let's go ahead and track it again at that speed there. Again, toward Laurel, 45 miles per hour or so. Again, we show that on the edge there, about 8:30. So about 30 minutes from now, current time is 8 o'clock. Speaking of that, current time is 8 o'clock. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather and Mama Justice Doppler Radar. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon here. And what we are tracking and talking about at this time is a line of thunderstorms here moving through. Most of these are well below severe limits, and most likely scenario is that we will probably not see tornadoes out of most of these. The folks down here in and around locations in down in South Mississippi, most likely to probably have more unstable air, and thus most likely to see potential for severe weather. Our shear product here, which allows us to look at rotation, does show some rotation, a decent amount of rotation with this storm kind of moving through that location there. We'll make this 30-minute loop and see how that progresses. Sometimes you'll get kind of an S sort of shape in our shear product here, our rotation product. When that happens, that sometimes is a sign that we got to watch this. So on the path this is going there, is heading toward Laurel eventually, as we showed you on that storm track a moment ago. Bring this back to the two-dimensional mode here on Mississippi Live Weather. Certainly watching that area closely as far as hail goes. No real hail with this. As far as debris goes, looking for that. I do not see tornado debris signatures out of that at this point in time here. So largely not impressed by that threat, but still, nonetheless, we want to make sure to evaluate this appropriately. Again, not for one of the areas we truly cover here on Mississippi Live Weather, but just some heads up, folks were asking about this there, that this is a Doppler radar indicated tornado warning, where it's possible that tornado could develop at some point here in the near future. And so for folks that are in this warning area there in Jones County, and as well as right this moment in Covington County, pretty much right where I'm putting that line there is where the most area of greatest concern is. I'd say, let's get to that safe place, a low floor of a sturdy structure, a small windowless room where you can wrap up in blankets, pillows, put on a helmet to protect yourself from debris, and stay there until we can give you the all clear. You want to avoid some unsafe places there. That'd be cars, trucks, mobile homes, things of that nature, so that we can be in good shape. And one of the things we always kind of recommend, if you're kind of ahead of this, or you know someone down there, if you know somebody in the path, call them, let them know, hey, there's something heading toward you that you need to be paying close attention to. One thing you could do is text a picture. Use the screenshot function of your phone. Before it was like, oh, we'll take a picture of the TV screen. Well, now it's just, hit the power button, hit the volume button at the same time, it screenshots it, and you can send the screenshot. Now, one annoying thing with the screenshot that drives me crazy, that if the vendor's listening this morning, is that screenshot's going to be wrong ways, and you'll have to rotate it. Unfortunately, something we're still working through. We've done a lot over a short period of time. That's an annoyance that we still have got to get through at some point here. But send a picture to a friend, nag loved ones to get to that safe place if necessary. And if you're ahead of this or any of these thunderstorms, we show this graphic all the time outside of severe weather, but build that armor to make sure that you can get to, and you folks know how to get to that safest location there. Got to know when you're in the warning, and that's the beauty of Weather Call, the Mississippi Live Weather App, Code Red. That all keeps you ahead of things. As we bring the conversation back in here for a moment, apparently Jones County, according to Gabriel, has deactivated their siren system. I cannot independently confirm that. We need a suspenders risk graphic. The suspenders are on because it's warm in here. Let's test it. I have a fan right above me. We'll see if that cools it off enough that we're okay without blowing around all the papers or making wind noise there. So that's on, and that might be a helpful thing that I keep in mind to keep the jacket on a little longer during normal weather. Going through again some of what you're looking at there, watching for Detroit, Alabama. Let's go ahead and bring it back up here north again to cover the northern part of the state, and bring it back in here to the closest radar and talk about Detroit, for example. So while tornado warnings are going on down south, for folks out here in Lamar County, Alabama, these storms again below severe limits. Detroit, nothing up there that I'm concerned about or worried about. And one way you can always tell that is you look above my head there. If I can get pointed in the right spot, you can see lightning strikes. Only a single one over the last little bit here, a sign that these storms are largely elevated and below severe limits. So some moderate rainfall out there, but again, nothing that I'm overly impressed with at this time, really out of any of this stuff that we have up north. Our next live broadcast that is scheduled is going to be coming up here at 5 p.m. today here from the Room to Room Weather Center. We will probably do some updates between now and then, but the severe weather threat as far as North Mississippi is concerned, I do not see one of significance right now, and I don't want to imply too much by staying on, because I do know that there are some people out there that will stay on nonstop with us. We can leave the channel, the 24-hour channel, up and going on Facebook. That's fine for folks out there. But again, the primary severe weather risk for this morning round is over, and primary severe weather risk in general is south of us as we progress throughout today. Keep it here for the latest. Appreciate it. Like and subscribe. We'll talk to y'all here in just a little bit.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Before we go away completely, I do want to, well, that was not the right thing I meant to bring up there. That's going to happen from time to time. Let's bring it back over here, this one, and I'll get that cleaned up here in a second. I do need to give some credit where credit is due. There are a number of folks out there that support us here on Mississippi Live Weather that we need to give credit to, and in particular, all of our sponsors here. You've seen some commercials for some of them. Not all of them run commercials in the morning show. And so that means that there are some that haven't gotten the credit, that we really honestly could not do this without them. So if you have the opportunity to patronize these folks, I would certainly very kindly ask that you would consider doing that, because it is about the only way, and that popped up that program there, but it'll pop up the nicer shot here. About the only way we can keep doing this. So for folks out there looking to advertise, you could send us a message to info@msliveweather.com. But our sponsors from a variety have been with us. Some of them have been with us from the very beginning. Some are newer, but we're thankful for all of them as well. Room to Room, obviously, you've seen their logo on the screen a lot. We could not do this, could not have this weather center, could not have this infrastructure without the help that they have given us. Mama Justice Law Firm there, Mama Justice Doppler Radar, obviously a huge sponsor. Eat With Us, the folks at, Harvey's, The Grill, Sweet Peppers, Bulldog Burger, they all, they a local restaurant chain, support them. Absolute Restoration, I've shown you this, ways they're giving back to the community as well. And appreciate them. Mitchell Cunningham Bowling coming on with us and sponsoring our Tupelo Tower Cam, as well as running commercials here as you've seen this morning. MLM Clothiers, with when we've done some trips, they've been a sponsor with us. First Choice Bank, they've been on with us since the first time we ran a commercial. And we're just so thankful to be working with them, as well as Tupelo Smiles have been with us in the beginning. Traceway Retirement Community, Methodist Senior Health Services there, running commercials on our 24-hour channel and supporting us here. Carl Hogan Toyota, you've seen them on and on again on the SEC football forecast. Again, our congratulations to the Ole Miss on the amazing season. I know it didn't come exactly to the ending they'd hoped for, but just a spectacular season nonetheless. IMPC, our school day forecast, KC Lot, again, all of our stuff that we're doing when we're talking about high school football, things of that nature. Little's Jewelers, sponsoring a number of locations on our 24-hour channel. True Shield Roofing, again, our hail stuff. Northeast Mississippi Community College, you've seen us do their football forecast, and they run a lot of commercials with us as well. And of course, Exceed Technologies, one of our new ones, sponsoring one of our locations on our 24-hour channel. You'll be seeing some commercials from them on what they do coming up soon. So there are still blank spaces there, some room for other advertisers, and we appreciate everybody who has stepped up to help us and make this a reality. What is your dream? Let's be perfectly clear here. People are like, you need to start your own weather channel. And people all the time will tell you you need to do something, but the only way in which that works is through your support. And there are two ways you can support us. You can give us money. That's great. We don't have a real avenue to do that. I would prefer, if you can choose these people, then choose to go with these people here in order to take care of your services, and tell them that you support Mississippi Live Weather and you're thankful that they support Mississippi Live Weather as well. It is the only way in which this will be successful long term. Otherwise, unless if you choose other places to go, or you don't tell them you support Mississippi Live Weather, they're going to say, that money wasn't worth it, and they're going to move on to someplace else. So if you want this to be something we can continue to do, then please support our sponsors. And if you'd like to sponsor us, and trust me, any sponsor in the region wants to know how many hits that logo gets. It is a ridiculous number, and these do very, very well as well, because while we have about 400 folks watching us at this point here on a bunch of different platforms, and we're talking about sponsors, when we do our live broadcast, we have thousands of folks that watch us every day, because this is so convenient. The app is there. So a lot of folks get to see your content, and it lives on forever on the interwebs, on the socials after the fact as well. If you'd like to sponsor with us, send us an email to info@msliveweather.com. Whereas in the beginning, if you reached out to us and said, we'd like to sponsor, and never heard back, I'm sorry, it was only me. But now we have a team of 5 people that are doing commercial sponsors like you've seen, but also you've probably seen some pop-ups in the app. Now that we're getting past the Christmas holiday and everything to go along with that, there's going to be additional sponsorship opportunities there as well that can be geo-targeted. So appreciate, again, all these folks, all these sponsors. We appreciate you for watching us. Without you and your desire to have us be a part of this, this would just be a dream that couldn't become a reality. But I'm just so thankful and feel very blessed that God has blessed us in this way, and that you guys have supported us at this point. I was going to see if there's a better way to get my sizing there to get the word live on the screen, but maybe not happen this time. Okay? Again, as we mentioned a minute ago, next live broadcast is going to be coming up here at 5 p.m. unless we need to do it sooner. We might end up doing one sooner. We'll see, but not impressed by what we're looking at this point. But if something's necessary, we'll be on to bring you the very latest updates related to this. I guess before we go, we should probably head south one more time and check out that storm there close to Laurel. I know we do. I understand, parents and family members, if I had friends and family down there, I'd want to know from somebody I trusted. So let's go back down there and look at that again. So we'll bring it back in here, and we'll look at that one last time. So just a second while I'm looking behind the scenes here. We'll kind of pop this back up and let that chat kind of live on there here from a moment. Help me hear the Flatwoods. Crystal, you mentioned you're watching from the Flatwoods. I'm going to try to watch here in a second. I don't know where the Flatwoods are. I have not had a chance to Google it. I notice it and I never remember it. So put in there and help me out with that and help my geography. There still is the rotation on this. And it does look like you go back a couple scans. Let's go now. Let's walk back a couple scans on this. I need to put this to 1 minute data. This will be a slower loop, but that's better data. Yeah, that got pretty close there on a couple occasions. Still fairly broad rotation in the latest scan there, but let's go ahead and track this forward there into the Laurel area. Kind of move it this direction there. We'll wait till the final scan so we've got it just right. There we go. Again, going about 40, we'll go 43 miles per hour. So time in the Laurel, 8:35, 20 minutes in the Laurel before this rotating thunderstorm moves in. And again, what are we looking at with this? This would be, again, Doppler radar indicated rotation that could lead to the development of a tornado. Unlike earlier where we had one that produced tornado debris, thus the confirmed tag on it, this one's a scenario here where rotation says that this could develop into a tornado at some point in the near future. And so watching this closely, if you do know folks down here, we want to make sure that we're getting to that safest possible location. That would be a sturdy structure, a small windowless room on the middle or lowest floor of a sturdy structure, a place where you can wrap up on blankets and pillows, put on a helmet to protect yourself from debris, and then stay there until we're able to give you the all clear. You're able to get the all clear from the Mississippi Live Weather app. We want to avoid unsafe places in this scenario, so no cars, trucks, and mobile homes. I know this is, go to work time here, go to school time here. This is a scenario down there where we don't want to try to drive the kids in this. We want to stay off roads as this moves in and blame the weather guy. I don't have a get out of work free thing that I'm going to write out for you. Who knows? Maybe we'll put something like that on social media, but up here in the northern part of the state that would not be the case today, but we want to avoid those unsafe places. And again, if you're ahead of this storm or any storms, we always want to think about preparing ahead. And so that would mean, keeping your phone charged. Even I've had to have my phone plugged in over here a good chunk of the morning. Put on hard-soled shoes, gather important medications, documents, and get within steps of that safe place. I would say if you're in the portion of this track that's outside of that, that's what we need to be doing just in case this is extended into your area. It's not a super strong one, not super impressed by what we're looking at, but sometimes things happen. So that's what we'll have to watch. Get down here to the latest. Weak circulation maintains there as of from talking with the National Weather Service in the last couple moments. Tornado warning still for that. Structure is adjusted some, but can continue to maintain the warning for a brief tornado. And again, that's what we talked about in our different things today, is that. And ultimately, because this is not our area, but we know that there's no such thing as an our area when you have cell phones. If you know somebody that's in the path of this, call them down there, say, hey, we got a rotating thunderstorm coming toward you. There's a guy up in Tupelo that has an app. You might want to download that. And so that app, of course, is the Mississippi Live Weather app. And so we'll bring your chat back on the screen here for a moment as we're talking back and forth. Appreciate y'all watching us in Macon, New Albany, Noxubee County. Vicksburg is wanting to know about that. We'll look at that in more detail for you here in a minute as well. And appreciate everybody, parents traveling from Tupelo to Red Bay, from Red Bay to Tupelo today. I would say you're in good shape as far as this is concerned today. We're looking like we're in good shape there for the most part. And yeah, I did mention taking my jacket off, not be alarmed. The fan helping out a little bit. I'm wondering if I go up to the next level, which would be perfect if you'll hear wind noise. You know what? We're going to do that. We're going to test it. You're going to tell me if you hear wind noise here from my microphone, so it's at the appropriate level of not hot in here and I don't have to freeze out the rest of the house. Get back here to the shear mode on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, and I'll go and clear off that storm track for a moment. And I don't see anything that's super strong on that as well. Looking at our threat tracker, where we kind of have all of our severe threats all analyzed on the same screen. Briefly, we had a bit of stronger wind with that a minute ago there. It looks less and less impressive at this time. We're going to change this back over to our precipitation up here in the northern part of the state. We're going to kind of bring it back up north here to North Mississippi to kind of look at this on Mama Justice Doppler radar. And someone was mentioned New Albany. We're good for now in New Albany. Later today, unimpressed by what we're looking at, but still not impossible to see maybe something. Certainly, though, none of this is at or anywhere near severe levels. So a good sign there. Our severe risk area for today has been trimmed farther back to the south. And in particular, as I widen this just a little bit so we catch all of our counties on there, we did have a brief tornado warning. So it's a reminder that you don't have to be in a level 5 out of 5 risk to have tornado warnings on this. This one associated with what we call a tornado debris signature. But what we do not have, looking at that tornado risk, in the significant tornado risk, is anything. So no significant tornadoes today. More likely to see gusty winds, and not particularly likely to see hail, but not an impossibility. Okay? So again, next broadcast here, and we are actually going to wrap it up this time, 5 p.m. unless something happens. We'll be watching things closely. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather.